Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, about the first video for carriers. Well, the first video, the first replay. There's gonna be a second replay, and then there's gonna be normal gameplay, not from the replay. So, the first video, the first replay is from Operation Hermes as Kaga. Now, what you want to do as Kaga or whatever carrier in Operation Hermes is deploy a fighter for the enemy patrols. And I did 2 attacks, you can tell, to save my torpedo planes. The reason for that is as Kaga or as an Essex Line or Shinano or Independencia or what have you, you can attack the battleships. As in Lexington or Enterprise or any English carrier or whatever, you can do that because you lose too much HP and when at the mid game when the battleships spawn. So the first thing you notice, I'm going for the destroyer. Yeah, you don't want to use that wide of an aiming circle, but that is what happens when we place. So you can tell I did 9k damage to a destroyer. And that is why you go for destroyers, because, well, like I said in the live stream, destroyers are a very high priority target. And there are people who ignore them. In this game they did not, but I had games where they did. So you want to go for the destroyers because they are a high priority target, and you know, it's Operation Hermes, so you need to escort the Eagle 1, as you can see above, or in links or left above. And if you don't go for the destroyers, then at the end of the match, Eagle 1 will be berated by torpedoes. That's why you go for the destroyers. Now, so in Operation Hermes, as a carrier, you go for the destroyers first, the cruisers, and the cruisers are not a very high priority target. Destroyers are a high priority target, then are the destroyers. For first are the priority target, like before, are the destroyers. If there are no destroyers, it's battleships or cruisers, depending what you want to go for. I don't usually go, I go for everything, but if it's a bad match where you have cruiser battleships, you're gonna go for the cruisers first, because 9 out of 10 times they have the torpedoes, the battleships do not. If there aren't German battleships at least. If there are German battleships, then they do have torpedoes, but they have 6 km range. So you actually have way more leverage with them than not. Like, yeah, Musashi is a very powerful battleship. But a cruiser is far more dangerous with torpedoes. Mecklenburg is a very powerful battleship. But the torpedo range is not that great. So, well, it has a decent torps. But cruiser torpedoes, they are different from the battleship torpedoes. So you want to go for the carrier for the destroyers first. If they are not, then you want to go for the cruiser. And if you play Colossus, then you can go for the enemy carrier as well. Not saying you cannot do that as an every other carrier, but Colossus has the AP rockets like the Oxen Parzival, and then you can get hits on the enemy carrier better than you can as a Kaga, because you can get no Citadel hits. So as a Kaga you can go for the battleships. If you are Lexington or Midway or whatever you play, you cannot, unless you are Shinano or Yorktown class, or Pobeda or Choklov. It can be done, but you have to be more careful. In a Kaga you can, because you got a high hangar plane, and if you don't get the plane, like I did with in the first time you hit you top a few torpedoes left before, then you are good at plane managing, and that is very exceptional, because there are people who are not great at plane managing and well playing a carrier. Sounds a bit stupid, but it is true. I've seen people in Operation Hermes getting deplanes at halfway station, and it's just I'm amazed. I'm amazed that you can do that. Now, of course, there are carriers with a lower hanger. I know, but if you play a lower hanger carrier, you wouldn't go for the battleships. That's what I'm saying. So know your plane management and know your hanger. If you don't have a huge hanger like Kaga is one of the best hangers. Trust me, bro. You cannot go for the battleships. Just leave them alone. If they are weakened, you can go for them. But if they are not weakened, then give it a rest. Not worth it. If you play Kaga and you're great at carrier plane managing, then you can go for the battleships. If you are learning how to play carriers and this is your first time getting a carrier game in Operation Hermes, don't go for the battleships because if it's your first time playing a carrier, and I mean you can get this at tier 6, and if you are and soon you can get lower tier operations. But the problem with carriers is they go from tier 4 to 6. So if it's your first time at tier 6 playing carrying dedicated operation, don't do this. Just leave the battleships alone and scout for something else. It's better to be a useful carrier that has planes than be a carrier with no planes. Because then you're just a floating fortress without the armament of a fortress. So don't do that. Furthermore, fighters are very useful in this operation because there are a lot of planes in the air from the Luftwaffe. So what you do is deploy fighters here and there and manage those as well. I mean, running out of fighters in this operation is very hard, but if people go solo to something and there are fighters over there, I don't deploy fighters because, yeah, I'll save it for the saving of the Roland. Now, for the cruiser, I didn't really deploy my first attack wave, but I didn't need to because I went home straight away. That's something I learned from randoms back in the day, that it's better to get one strike in and go back than go for 2 strikes and lose half your planes. Like, yeah, if you have 4 torpedo planes and you can get 2 torps off, that's nice, but now you're stuck in restoration for the other two planes. Well, if you go for attack one, and you can still go home, then you have 2 planes left over for the next flight, for the next attack one. So that's why I usually go back to the carrier after deploying my torps and my bombs. It's all about plane managing. Here I didn't go for the Maas, because Maas is, well, I did go for the Maas, but Maas is still pretty far away. On the right, they had 3 battleships over there. I have a few battleships over there, 1 from ours, 2 AI battleships plus 1, and there are cruisers over there. I couldn't go for the enemy destroyer, which I did after this one, but I wanted to damage that one first so they can focus on that destroyer and then go for these destroyers. Because the thing is, they already launched the torps. So me getting that earlier wouldn't make much sense. And I was going for the Hyena anyway. So I did not go for these carrier destroyers, but I go for them now. Now, here the torpedo was too late firing, so they didn't fire on the destroyer. And here they already killed the destroyers before I can get the top off. So This was a competent team, I should say. They are focusing on the carrier destroyers first, then only on the Odin. I have people here in the game, you won't believe it, but there are people in the game who go for the Odin first, and then they go for the destroyers, which don't do that, because, well, like I said before, destroyers are a high priority target. Also, I was stuck in this position. It's fine, because I'm still at halfway of the map, so I can usually just escort the help with escorting the Ruan. But you want to move eventually. The closer you are to Ruan, the faster you can help Ruan, right? So always move as a carrier. Don't go sit idle, because if you go sit idle, that's when you cannot support your team sufficiently, because you need to go halfway off the map to support your team. Now there are maps like, for example, in the dark. I don't know the name of it right now, but it's if it comes up in another gameplay, I will of course record that map if it's a good map, if it's a good match. But you have to stay out of the elimination shells, and then it's fine. It's at the back of the map because you are doing secondary objective, but you can move later on. It really depends how good your team is in getting there, but yeah, you want to move essentially as a carrier. That is one thing I really hated about having carriers in randoms. They would go to the back of the map, and now you have to fly half through the way the map to support your team. If you are close to one, look at the damage, 13.2k to the destroyer. That is fantastic. That is the damage you want to do. Now, if you go in randoms and you play a carrier and you're on the back of the map, if your flank falls, yeah, that's fine if you're away. But if your flank continues to push and you need to now fly halfway across the map to get to your flank. This is the reason why you use torpedoes to destroy those people. You got them 13k damaging, and it's not a fluke. Because I'm going to do it again. If you learn how to torpedo destroyers, that is an essential skill to have in operations, even in randoms as well. Because, yeah, attack rockets are fine, but they have a delay. Torpedoes are high dealing damage to destroyers because they take the full torpedo damage. So there you go. Again, 13k damage. It is absolutely fantastic. You really want to have a carrier that does these sort of things, because right now only the Zerstörer 23 can get the torpedoes out. He will get a kill, but having one destroyer torpedo that has torpedoes is way better than having 3 destroyers that have torpedoes, because now you have Al-Saw in a problem, and now you only have lost Jean-Bart and not Rouen. So in Rouen there's not lost a lot of HP, so we are good at saving Rouen. It is fantastic, and that is why I think that carriers in operations are a good deal. Are very strong if you have a carrier that knows what he's doing. If you have, for example, super CV that is being useless, you might as well put a super carrier as a super cruiser in that list, because they are also as useless as a super CV who don't do anything. If you play carriers in operations, be useful and don't dodge destroyers like it's a disease. go for them, because I've seen many carriers also dodging, not going, or not attacking destroyers. That's what you should do though. You should go for the destroyers as a carrier. And if you want to know, here's my top score. I got 3rd place. The thing with carriers is you get a very low base XP as a carrier, that's just how it is. But the fact that I'm 3rd place with almost getting close to the Bayard, and these two are very low, given they died early on, but even then, these two people are still 200 points away essentially from getting to 3rd place, to Kaga. Being a good carrier and a team play carrier is essential in operations. Welcome to the second replay of the video. After this replay, there are no more replays. Here we have Operation Aegis as a carrier, which I said in one of my live streams that people in Operation need to use their brain. I still stand by that, because Aegis is not as difficult as it seems if you use your 2 brain cells and if you got a carrier that is essentially supporting the team. Now in this replay, or this match, I had no kills. I had decent amount of damage, I didn't top the 100k I believe, but it is still plenty of team play done by my Kaga. So how do you do that? Now, in this match, sometimes you will get a few destroyers or not, or you get a few cruisers. Here we got 1 destroyer. I go for the destroyer, as always. You want to go for the destroyer because destroyers are essentially the bane of your pain. Yes, so here you go for the carrier, for the destroyer, for the Shimagaze, and you go back to your carrier, and now you get your bomb planes on. Here's the deal, I dealt already 8k damage to a destroyer with my torps. Shimagaze with less HP is still a threat, but less HP ships makes people shoot them faster. So right now, you got people going for the Shimagaze. It is absolutely fantastic that I dealt so much damage to Shimagaze and now it is gone. I'm aimed a little bit too early, that is what is happening here, but it is all fine. Now, here we go. Another bomb hit on the Shimagaze and Shimagaze is gone. Now Atago is gone, Ibuki is gone. You go for the Amagi. Now Ibuki is almost gone. Yeah, you got 2. You got 1 another ship over there. The problem with this thing is, look what they did early. They did spawn the attack wave early over here. You do not want to do that, because that is essentially putting more strain on the team. Let them spawn when they spawn in. Because the thing is, the Shiratsu over there had issues with with launching set torps to set attack wave. That's 7k to the Armageddon. It's fantastic. The reason I ignored the Atago is because, well, Fletcher is gonna die 9 out of 10 times anyway. Sometimes Fletcher survives, but Atago was too close and I could not get a shot off, so I would go for the Amagi instead. So you have to know your boundaries with how you wanna play it. And yes, if you spotted the flag on the first match visit this was an Asia Lane flag, and now on my Kaga I have the Asia Lane Shinano flag. That's so very, if you are observant, then yes, you saw that. The thing is as well, the Shiratsu is now in smoke screen and he is essentially just shooting fodder. So I go for the Miyoko, because Azuma and I'm very low HP, I would not go for that. Azuma, first one died, second one is low HP, is gonna die to the torpedoes as well. It's better to go for a ship that has full HP, because then you have more chance of dealing damage. Now you go back to the carrier and you launch your bomber planes again, because you're going on a bombing run against the convoy. Yes. Do note that when you go for the convoying ships, they do not use anti-air, but they will launch fighters. So, one attack run and get out of there, otherwise you get liberated by fighters. And as a Kaga or as any CV, you kind of want to save your planes for later. Remember the time back in the day when the aircraft carrier was on fire? Then you could not launch your planes. Back in the RTS days, it was fantastic. I do miss my RTS planes because I miss my Taiho, and it required a lot more skill than it is now. That is why I am making these videos for carriers in operations, because we need more carrier players in the game. And I don't care if it's random operation, but if you do operation, please heed my advice a little bit, because if you are a carrier that focuses on team play and focuses on getting objectives done, you are a fantastic little carrier. If you do play as Yorktown and you get Operation Preemptive Rescue, you can launch a smoke screen for the Raptor sometimes, and sometimes it's very useful, so be aware of that. But back to Aegis. Aegis over here, this is a very nice attack run, it's also gonna hit. Now you get out for the fighters. I lost 3 planes over there, but I do not have Hidden Menace. I could, but I'm doubting getting Hidden Menace as a carrier of operations. I might do it, I might not, I don't know. I'm still weighing things out over here. So now you got an early, very early, very early saving the Liberty ships. Usually you get around the mid islands around here. Now you got them over here, which is a pain in the ass sometimes, I should say, because now you have to protect them from all the battleships and cruisers, while they are still very vulnerable. But it can be done. Now you have 3 options. Go for the Yushi, Senshi or Kusutsu. I go for the Kusutsu. Not often though. Because the thing is, if you go for the Kusutsu and you focus on the Kusutsu, then yes, you will essentially deal enough damage that it's gonna sink. But it is not the secondary objective I'm focusing on the main objective. And that is escort the transport out of the action zone. What that means is, yeah, Kusutsu can do damage as can other battleships, but the cruisers and destroyers are far more of a high priority target than the 3 battleships. If you've got 2 ships going for the battleships, that's more than enough. If you've got a submarine and a destroyer going for the submarine for the battleships, that's more than enough. You don't have to focus on the battleships, let them handle that. You go for the cruisers and the destroyers, even as a battleship or a cruiser, doesn't matter if you're a carrier, because you do not need 7 ships focusing on 3 battleships. Let 2 people do that, and the rest of the team can shoot the other stuff. So right now I'm going on a little scouting run. I see that there is a Takahashi over there. So I'm gonna evade the Takahashi AA. I'm going for the Kusutsu again. And after this one, I believe I will not go for the Kusutsu ever again. Because the cruisers and destroyers become a formidable target, and as well, Kusutsu is turning and I lost my plane while he early launched my torps, and now he's turning and not a lot of torpedoes will hit. But now we go for the Zao. Now the Zao, as every lot of RGN light cruiser, has good AA. So be careful with your planes because they have a lot of flag. And they got fighters as well. Look at that. So here you go, you drop the torps, the bombs, and you get out. 8k damage on the Zao is not that bad. After this video, after this replay, you get 3 more operations done with carriers. It is carrier focused, but don't worry, it's also gonna be like this for battleships, destroyers, submarines and cruisers. Because I want to give the fair and square how to perform better in operations with your carrier, and then I'll do it for the same for the cruisers, destroyers, battleships and submarines. Because it doesn't matter what you play, so in the end of the day you really gotta be a team player for the team, and your success is in the balance of also your own gameplay. And here we have the Enterprise in Operation Ultimate Frontier. Not the best operation, to be honest, as an Enterprise. If you get this operation as any other ship, you're fine. If you get it as an Enterprise, oh, you're in a rough spot. Now, destroyers first, but I missed all my torps because first match of the day doesn't count. No, I'm kidding, but it was like, I was misaiming a little bit, and I don't know. Usually I'm spot on with the stops on Enterprise, but in this match I was just not. So yeah, in this match I am not really supporting my team. And I said in the video before that supporting your team as in a carrier is very important. But I always say that with an asterisk. And the thing is, if you have a team that is not worth supporting, and you will notice that soon enough, you will notice very early if it's worth supporting or not. If they're not worth supporting, I'm not going to support them, and I'm going to focus on my own performance, which is what the video is about. Improving your own performance as a carrier. So if your team is like this, like I have now in the video, and they're not worth supporting, go for your own performance. Because as sadly as it is, you will not get bonus XP or increased XP or whatever base XP for being a support carrier. Now with the new updates they made, English and Japanese carriers and other countries' carrier a bit more supportive. But you know, you can drop heals and you can extinguish the fire and stuff like that. That's fine. But again, that does not improve your base XP or your whatever. So it's easier to just not stick to them. Like, if your team is worth supporting, then yes, you should absolutely use your supportive consumables. With a team like this, it's not worth it. Just stick to yourself and you'll be fine. And I said in this video before, I'm gonna get hidden menace on the ship anytime soon. When I got my commander to level 16, then I will get the hidden menace. I think it's actually worth it on this carrier in operations because the plane speed is so slow, and having them return to having them going to a safer area when they go back to the ship faster is way better. Now, and I mean, I could go for the Cleveland here, because in a way the cruisers are supporting me. But the thing is, look at where Hipper is and look at where Cleveland is. Hipper is in a very grey spot right now. Nobody is going for the battleships or the cruise over here. Like, yeah, I'm glad they're killing the Cleveland over there for the aerodrome planes to come out. But we're in a rough spot here and I'm losing all my planes because, well, I'm fighting a great AA bubble over there. So as an aircraft carrier, it doesn't matter what you play. It's important to know that you kind of want to try to always be better in the previous match than in the match you was in earlier on. So I always try to aim for, if I deal, for example, 80k damage in this operation, I want to go at least 100k damage in my next operation. It's a carrier, of course. Sometimes you have great... It also depends on the operation, of course. Like if you have the Pacific Offense, or I don't remember the operation name, but it's in the night and you have to evade elimination shells. If you have that operation as a carrier, it absolutely sucks sometimes, depending also on your carrier. But yeah, it's kind of annoying to play as them because the detection range is so low that you are more likely just flying around and be spotting things, and by the time you can deal damage, it's yeah, not that great. Another thing I want to call out on, it's more of an intermezzo, but it is about if you play cruisers, and it's not about cruisers, this video is about carriers, but I want to say this: if you play a cruiser, do not play Nuevo de Julio or Boise. Like, yeah, there are great cruisers, and I like them. I like Boise. She's very strong, but you have a very low firing range, so you really gotta be in the middle of it. And if you're on the outer map, then if you are in the middle, like in the islands, that's where behind the island, that's where you can safely HE spam delivering poops out of the North Carolina over there. But if you're all the way on the backside, then you cannot, and then North Carolina will easily go where she is now. So if you are a cruiser, if the Cleveland is dead, immediately go for the battleships. That's intermezzo done. As you can hear the dogs outside, I'm sorry, but I don't know why people bring their fucking dogs outside. Well, I mean, I do know why, but not in the area where I live in. There's no grass here, but yeah, there is grass on the other side of my house, which is not that far away, but you gotta walk 2 streets down. There's grass, not over here. Here you are just here in my area where I live. There's a restaurant and stuff like that and pubs. So I don't know why you would bring a dog over there. That's just me. Anyway, back to carriers. Rant over. Okay. Yeah, it's the operation as a carrier is very fun if you have a good carrier. No, Enterprise is very good, but I'm honestly playing it because the team is very bad. And that's always the aspects that I put on the people if they say, well, the carriers do not support everything. Yeah, well, if the team is not supporting, then why would they? I have a friend of mine, and it was very fun because we are both, you know, we both criticize carriers. And we both play carriers, so we criticize what we know. And it's bad when you have a carrier player. Like, for example, you've seen it in my streams before, Operation Cherry Blossom, the one where you have to destroy the aerodromes fighting the Japanese Navy. What is the one thing a carrier should do when the aerodromes come online? And go for the aerodromes. Why are carriers going for the destroyers? Of course, it depends on your carrier. If you play Argus and Parzival, you cannot go for the aerodromes. I get that. If you play Colossus, you can. If you play Lexington, you can. If you play Yorktown, you can. If you play Hornet, you can. If you play Enterprise, you can. If you play Kaka, you can. And I go for the destroyers. And the cruisers. Like, yeah, that's great and all. Now the battleship can go fight the aerodromes. But you could do it before then, and you could have destroyed already one, or at least damaged the other one. If the secondary objective is not to destroy Atago, don't go for the Atago, just go for the aerodromes. And if the secondary objective is to kill the Atago, kill the aerodrome first, and if Atago isn't dead by the first aerodrome, go for Atago, and then you go for the second aerodrome. In this operation though, there's an aerodrome and all they have is a Hornet over there. If you play tier 10, you get the Franklin D. Roosevelt over there. Don't have to be worried about the carriers because they don't do anything. He deploys fighters and that's all he does. But that's only if you get spotted. And the secondary objective is also to, doesn't matter if you kill the Hornet, so you can just leave the Hornet alone. If you play Colossus, you can go for the Hornet or the Franklin D. Roosevelt, whatever you have in this match, because you can actually penetrate the Citadel very easily with a Colossus. Since you're a carrier sniper, you can do that, but even if it's not an objective, don't waste your planes on it, honestly. There are better things to fight. Like these AA cruisers. in this operation as well as a carrier. Sometimes it depends on the map. Not on the map. It depends on the team. If the team is very well and they are very supportive of each other, and you know, not in the way of like supporting each other very much that we're gonna help for now, but more like, hey, you got full health, you need to get out of the area. If I do that sometimes, then I put my carrier into the healing circle, so I can get my planes fast to the enemy ships. But in this operation I did not, because everyone was hooking the shield circle. If I put my backup carrier in there, I'm gonna get rammed out of it. I just know, and then you lose, because then you lose your ship. I'll not lose my ship anyway, but I don't want to lose it to stuff like this. Also, carriers use autopilot. If any ship, the destroyer or cruiser battleship, goes in front of the carrier and they say watch where you're going, you're an active carrier, you're an autopilot. If they are in your way, you're not in their way. They're in your way. So if you get people telling you that you're ramming them and you need to move, tell them that I need to move. Yeah, the thing is, you can't really do much here because everything is here is AA bubble. So Worcester is a great anti-airship, Alabama is a great anti-airship. I played them both, so I know. But that's the thing, if you play aircraft carriers and you play cruisers, you know exactly how to deal with one and the other. I'm just here to scout. Here's the thing, like the healing spot is still under attack because the destroyers haven't been dealt with. So I don't know what the priority target was in this operation for my cruiser team, but it was not the destroyers. If you're asking why I didn't go for the destroyers, there was 5 ships over there. And there was a huge AA bubble over there. I'm not gonna deal with that. Now you're in a bad spot over here, but that's fine, it happens anyway. If the team is... Eventually in this operation your team gets overhaul 1. That is just how this operation works. It sucks, but... It happens sometimes. Here we have the Colossus in operation that I talked about before. I really wish I had my Enterprise in this operation and the Colossus in the Enterprise operation, because here Enterprise is a beast and here Colossus is kind of meh. Now you could say that, yeah, but you can deal with the cruisers really quick. Yeah, but you need to spot them first. And because they have such a, and because the destroyers over here have such a low spotting range, you're kind of in a very not so nice position. I was flying 3 times 4 times over this thing and I could not spot the destroyer. So I was going for another destroyer. Spotted them and was way too late. Look, how it's, you cannot, this doesn't work with Colossus. You could say you could use your attack planes. No, they are AP. I just dropped it and hoped for the best and it did not work. So yeah, Colossus in this operation, not the best. Could have used anything else and it would work way better. But you should go and try for the destroyers anyway. You cannot leave the destroyer alone. Like, yeah, the torpedoes will miss, but at least you tried, right? That's the important thing. Anyway, I'm trying for the destroyer that I cannot spot. I thought it was over here somewhere, but it was not. Look, it doesn't even... The detection range on the destroyers is because they don't use the AA, and it's dark. They get very reduced spotting position. So... that was very annoying. So here I am with my team. Here's the difference between the Enterprise operation and the Colossus operation. Here I am helping supporting my Messina. So yes, here you have... now you have 2 people. Now you are supporting your team, which is very important. So there's a difference. Here you have someone who wants to take a flank, and in the previous operation you had nobody who wants to take a flank. Here you got support. So here I am supporting my team, and that's very important. That is how to this is how you distinguish yourself from the rest of the team as a carrier. Now you can support. Another thing that you can try to do in this operation with stuff like this, if you try to drop them, you press M really quickly, tap it, keep tapping M, that opens the tactical map. But if you do it very quickly, it will show you in this video. You can actually see over the island if you do that. Now Messina could use his thing over there, the hydroacoustic circuit. Don't know if he did. Don't believe he did. If you, that's one of the important things at Messina. You have 6 kilometer hydro for ships, and so use it. Yeah. Here I saw a destroyer, but I couldn't find him. And it was way too late. Here we are. It was the Mizuki, the cargo destroyer. Everything goes next to it, of course. That's always the... And I'm trying to open the tactical map to deal with my fighters, but I forgot that fighters do not spot anymore, so I could not really deploy my fighters. I tried to spot it for a little bit, but at the Mogami came and another destroyer came, so I was like, I need to go for the cruiser and the destroyer, otherwise Messina is gonna have troubles. So I kept flying out a little bit, so you could take a few pot shots at the cargo destroyer, tried to keep it spotted. Here the cruiser came as well. Yeah, this was actually a very fun operation. The Asashio you could leave alone. I mean, Asashio is a torpedo, it's a destroyer that only can harm battleships and aircraft carriers with torpedoes. The Asashio cannot get close to me, so I wouldn't go for the Asashio. Not really a threat. The cruiser over here is a better threat than the Asashio, which goes against what I say usually. Yeah, you usually hear me say destroyers are the high priority target, yes, but torpedoes can only hurt battleships and aircraft carriers. that's not really the biggest threat right now. Messina cannot get hurt by the Asashio torpedoes. That's why you go for the cruisers. Also wondering why Alabama is shooting an explosive to a cruiser. I think that armor-piercing shells work better to a cruiser than an explosive as a battleship. That's just my hot take. Yeah. Azuma, I did my tops on because my attack aircraft were a little bit low, but you usually want to use your attack aircraft as closest on the cruisers. You want to stay a bit with your team, but not too far in front, because that is very deadly. So you can see my ship over there in the background. That's a very safe spot in this operation. Not to get too close and not to get too far. Some people stick around the other place in the spawn and stick around there. Yeah, you can do that as well. But I tend to stick with my team and get a little bit of close that way. In this operation there's no good or bad spot. Well, there is, but not really as in this operation. Like, if you stay really in the back, that's a bad spot. But if you try to get close, that's fine. And this doesn't work. I need to try it out. It doesn't work. You need AP shells for that, or AP bombs for that, which I do not have. I got an AP attack aircraft, but I'm not gonna use it on a coastal gun. The only reason I go for the coastal gun is because, well, you know, you need to get close to the Oka, and Oka is the Musashi in this operation, or it can be the Yamato, or it can be the Nagato. But in this operation, it's the Yamato. It's the Musashi, I mean. And coastal guns can harm the team. So over here I went to try to spot this, couldn't spot it, so I went for the Oka, and that's that operation dealt with. I ignored the Akizuki right now because Oka is right now the main priority target. If the Oka sinks, then we have won. And here we have won the match. Fantastic. On to the last operation, Arctic Convoy with the Graf Zeppelin. A carrier that you would not really see anymore in operations because, well, Graf Zeppelin is a shadow of her former self. Graf Zeppelin is a German aircraft carrier. It's a very nice carrier. It has good secondary guns. There's AP bombs. The accuracy on the bombs is bad. It's RNG because, well, accuracy on the bombs was nerfed, and now her strong point is more of a liability. But you can still make it work, but don't depend on them because, yeah, you will often it will often miss rather than hit. But I still like the Zeppelin nonetheless. I tried to go for the destroyer over here, you want to do that, but he ran to Liberty, so now you have that problem over there. Yeah, something that happens, it's annoying when that happens, but... I don't know why the game does that sometimes, I don't know. Now you want to go for the other destroyer. With manual guns you got 12.2 kilometer range. Not gonna use that. Not gonna use that. I'll stick to. I did use my secondary guns, but more towards the end and not early. Now we go for the König, and after that we will see. Now, in this operation you want to stick to your team a little bit much, you don't want to be out in the back. Because, well, this is still a very difficult, it's not a difficult operation, this one, it's very easy. But it's, sometimes carriers go too far ahead and they go to the last Liberty ship or the third Liberty ship, and then it's yeah. Now you got to protect the Liberty ship on your own at the end, which you cannot do as a carrier. No matter what you play as a carrier, you cannot do that. You will get overwhelmed at some point, or you can just be the last one out, and then go to the Liberty ship, but have an ally with you. That's what I did. The Tirpitz went first, and I went to the Tirpitz. Here I go for the destroyer, of course. I went for the last destroyer, I believe, or the first one. I went for the last one, I believe. Oh no, I went for the first one. They will hit though. And that's why you go for destroyers. With your torpedoes you do a nice 6k damage. And like I said before in the Kaga video, you want to use your tops to the destroyers because that's a high dealing damage thing. I don't know why people ignore destroyers in a carrier, I don't know, I will never know. Like, yeah, it's difficult because, well, my phone is acting up, so I'm sorry. It's difficult, but it's more of like, yeah, how do I say this? Attack aircraft work on destroyers really well, but they have a delay and they're not as accurate. Torpedoes you can accurately drop in front of a destroyer and they'll go into it. Here we go for the Prinz Eitel Friedrich, because it's just a massive target and you cannot dodge these storms. So yeah, Zeppelin is a very fun carrier to play still. It gets a little bit of not really everyone plays in operations because it's like I said before, it's a shadow of a former self, nerfed and everything else, but you still got the excellent secondary guns, and you know the torpedo damage is nothing to not too bad. You know, the AP bombs, yeah, they're fun, but that's that I had a miss, and attack aircraft are HE, so you got that going for you. I made a video with Erich Leeuwenhard first, which is a Tier 6 August and Parsifal, so to speak, but it's, yeah, that was a little bit of a miss. It was Tier 6, of course. It was a fun operation, but it was an Operation Hermes again, and I made a covered Operation Hermes with the Kaga. And in this video I wanted to cover 5 operations and not 4, with 1 being the same. Because it doesn't matter what carrier you play in the end. Operation Hermes, it works the same as playing as an Kaga, as playing as an Erich Leeuwenhard. You cover the destroyers, and then, you know, you go from there. So that's why I did not put it in this video, because if it was a different operation I would have, but I tried 2 operations, and the first one was Operation Hermes, second one was Operation Hermes. So I was not gonna do this again. So then I tried to record an Ark Royal video, which was Operation Hermes and Operation Ultimate Frontier, and I already did that one in an Enterprise, so again I could not use that. And I lost 2 times in the Ark Royal and 1 time in the Erich Leeuwenhard. That's not useful either, you know. If I'm not nitpicking about my. If I lose, I lose, right? I'm not nitpicking on my. I always say this. I'm not nitpicking in my videos if I want to lose or win. That's not the point. But the thing is, it kind of sucks when you try to do a video and you lose 2 times, and because your team is just not worth it. So that was kind of the thing that happened. My team was really bad. Then I lost an Ark Royal in Hermes because I was going for the destroyers and no one else was. So Ryan died. Like I said, to go for the destroyers first, please. And in the operation with Frontier at Ark Royal, well, I died because, well, we lost the game, but I also died. But you know, it was again about the team not being supportive and not helping the team. So I went for my own performance, and I didn't help in the team, and so we all died. But yeah, that's the gist of it. And Erich Leeuwenhard, we won Operation Hermes, but if you, like again, another one we lost again in Operation Hermes. And I'm not someone who wants to make a video about operations and then include 5 of the same operation there. That's just not fun. So whether we got tier 8 rather than tier 6, but everything I say here in these advices work the same as in tier 6 as in tier 8. Here you go, and here you have a problem. You have only 2 transport ships left. First one died, and the difficult thing is here is that, yeah, now you got a cruiser over there and a battleship. I go for the battleship, of course. Tribute start to the Leipzig, and Los Angeles killed the Heinrich. I'm not too afraid of getting hurt by a Leipzig. Not the greatest ship. Look at the torpedo. Look at these bombs. Let's go. Look at these bombs. They just go miss. That's how you use torps. Yeah, in this operation you really want to go for the high priority threats like destroyers and stuff. But there's the thing. So when I was under attack there, I went for the other destroyer over there with the group. Why? Because that is still a transport ship that can survive. Adopted a tad too late, sadly. And this is why you play Zeppelin, because you got secondary guns that can work out. What you go do then, after the mines are dropped, you want to scout for the destroyers. But they can spawn from 2 places, and I was spotting north and I spawned from the south. So I'm spotting and nothing shows up. So then I know they're from the south, so now I go south. And here they are. Got it, but he did turn around. And that's why I play Zeppelin, because secondary guns can make short work of these pesky destroyers. Yeah, I wasn't misjudged by myself. He went north rather than where I think he was going. Yeah, in this operation, my advice is stick to the team. Stay if you go for the third. Labor the ship, you go with them. Try to support the ships that you can support. That's important. And know the priority targets first. So if there's a destroyer close by and a cruiser, you want to go for the destroyer first, then the cruiser. It's okay if you don't take too much heat in the beginning, but don't get deplaned. That's what I'm trying to say. If you lose your planes a lot in this operation as a carrier, that's very problematic. You don't want to do that. So stay away from high AA bubbles. Not that there aren't any in this operation, not many at least. Like, yeah, you got a hipper sometimes, and then it's stuck with Friedrich de Grosse and stuff like that. Then go for the little targets like the destroyers and the cruisers and battleships deal with that until Friedrich de Grosse and hipper are low HP. Then you can go in there. But don't. What I see some people do as an aircraft carrier is they go to the back of the map and stuff like that, or not back of the map, but they don't move, or they move too quick and then they go in the front, and that's why they take all the heat. Don't do that. You want to be safe, so you want to really do that. Go for a cruiser. The reason is Los Andes made a mistake, and I can help him out, right? I could go for the destroyer over there. I'm not going to. If you make a mistake, you're gonna pay for that mistake. If I make a mistake, I'm gonna pay for that mistake. So is he. I'll go for the destroyer, but I'll go for the second one. Maybe I thought maybe he would turn out, but he did not. Now it's smooth sailing from here on out. So here's what I want to show off real quickly at the end of the video, where I said about doing the tactical map thing. Do the usual in operations and stuff like that, usual in randoms, if it's usual if you play a carrier. Doesn't matter what you play. So let's go over this island, for example. We'll go all the way. We go over here. So you can't see behind the island over there, right? What you can do, you do this. Look quickly. You can see over the island, and then you can kind of see what you can do. So I'm gonna show it off again on this island over there. You can't really see behind the island over there. What you can do. So if you've got a ship that you can see but it's moving. I've got 9 seconds to do this. Let's see the ship over there, you can see him, right? What you can do is do this. Then you go, okay, leave like that. So you can use your torps to do it that way. I'm not fighting the enemy ship over there, it's a bot. I've got a training battle so I can show off what I mean. So here's another ship on board the island, you can see it. Now you can, now you know where the direction he's going. And then you can launch your shot. That's how you do it. They're over here as well. There's every map, every island. You got a ship over there, for example, you can see it, you do this, you can know exactly where he's moving. And you can move accordingly. Works with everything. That's what I wanted to show off. That's what I wanted to show off. It's very fun to do. It's very a nice trick that this. I don't know if you all know. I don't know. It's a very useful trick though. and make sure to use of it, because even in operations when they are behind islands, you can do that, and it's very nice, because now you can launch your torpedoes or your shots to some place that you normally wouldn't reach or can't see where the enemy is going. So, hope you had fun, hope you learned something from this video and learned something about carriers. And I'll see you guys next time with maybe destroyers, or cruisers, or battleships, or submarines. I'll leave that up to debate. I know what it's gonna be, but I'm not gonna tell you yet. See you guys next time.